Hello, assalamu alaikum, and good evening. Once again, this is Hassan Zafar with Political Zone. All evening, we have been talking about the way situation is building up in the Gulf region between Iran and Israel, and other players are positioning themselves, posturing in relation to the way things are developing. The regional players as well as international players. International players, most importantly, China, Russia, and the United States. How things are going to unfold in the days to come, or maybe in the hours to come, that's what we are going to discuss. The former Pakistani ambassador in the Gulf region, uh, Ambassador Imran Ali Saab, who is currently working as the additional secretary in Pakistan Foreign Office. Thank you very much, Ambassador Saab, for joining me. The right
Thank you,
person,
Dr. Saab. It's always a pleasure, Dr.
indeed, sir. You're the right person to discuss the situation with at the moment. How do you see the diplomacy uh, unfolding in the region and the imminent threat of U.S. Use of power against Iran?
Dr. The US is already involved I think, maybe not directly, but indirectly in the knowledge and the know-how of Israel's plans as uh, they formulate in the region. Now, the only thing left is to provide those bunker busting bombs so that one or two facilities are decapacitated, if we might use the word. And maybe also, as the threats are going on, maybe they want to see Iran capitulate very quickly. So, more than diplomacy, I think, this is more of direct use of force against Iran. And let's not forget, Dr. Saab, that it's Iran versus the regional powers, and it's Iran versus the US, it's Iran versus the UK, the intelligence cooperation and other things. So I think it's as kinetic as it gets.
Right. And we also heard the External Affairs Minister of India saying just yesterday that there is this uh, delicate balance they are trying to maintain between Iran and Israel. With one nation, they have trade relations, with the other, they have defense relations. How long do you think this balancing act can prevail, knowing, given that in every relationship there is a breaking point?
Very true, Doctor. But I think the Indian External Affairs Minister is using jargon more than the reality. I think with 50,000 plus uh, deaths in Gaza, shahadats in Gaza, they have totally sided with Israel. So, if there was any semblance of morality left in Indian foreign policy, that has gone. And now also, I think basically they have tilted towards Israel's side. So, um, I think there is hardly any balance left in India's foreign policy. Maybe rhetorically so, but on the ground, uh, I think they are totally in Israel's camp now, and so that's what it is, Doctor.
Right. And we also heard reports of raw spies operating inside Iran and therefore providing information to the Mossad agency, after which they carried out these targeted operations. But interestingly, Iran has not officially named those spies, have not raised finger toward India. Why do you think is that?
Sir, I think Iran is facing a battle of for its existence, a war, an existential war. I think it's dealing with the U.S. president and generally the European Union and others is enough on the plate when their leadership is being threatened also. So it's not functioning as uh, in a manner that it would want to function. It's in an emergent situation. So, but the reports are pretty credible, and that also I would like to tell my Iranian friends and my friends in Qatar and my friends in other places that poor old Pakistan, it has always prayed for the nations in the Gulf, including Iran. We've never even thought about espionage against brotherly countries. So, whereas this is the time for the nation state, I think there is some decency in being brothers in Islam. We all tend to minimize it, but that's the case. So if Mossad agents links with India are giving targets against the Iranian people, I think this goes on to it's a lesson for Iran also, and we all hope in Pakistan, we all hope in the government of Pakistan that Iran comes out with honor out of this and it prospers as a nation.
The objective set in the beginning of depriving Iran of its nuclear capability, if there is any, I don't know if they have any weapon grade material in their labs, but that was the initial gesture from Israel that the preemptive strikes, which they call preemptive, were aimed at dismantling Iran's nuclear infrastructure. But now another thing adds up of regime change, and we hear things like assassinating their supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei Saab. So, uh, what do you think is the real objective now? Because now the attention is split between these two things. What do they
Dr.
really?
Saab, Dr. Saab, in my humble opinion, and I say this in my personal capacity, I think it was always to belittle Iran and instigate an uprising against the against Khamenei Saab and his ilk, and to have a regime change. I think the this was the plan from the beginning, with uh, US officials proclaiming openly that Iran was not on the path to a nuclear program. Other than President Trump, the negotiations with Oman were to take place. I think Israel caught them by surprise, or Israel informed them and they couldn't say no. So I think it was always to create an upheaval in Iran, to debilitate Iran. Not only they would of course try to hit nuclear sites, but also to debilitate it militarily in conventional army, in conventional arms also, to hit their missile launching sites. Their air force is already not of the caliber to fight the Israelis. So it was always the missile sites and their infantry. And more than that, the targeted assassinations of their military, and not only of their military, their scientists and others. So it was they thought that an uprising would take place. They miscalculated. They were also following. India follows the Israeli playbook. Israel follows the India playbook because the playbook is the same. So this rant, which is so pathetic, which was raised by India also, that we were only targeting the terrorist camps, blah blah blah, and they saying we only targeted the nuclear sites. We are not after the people of Iran. We don't want to hurt them, and killing 20 children, killing people in apartment complexes, hitting apartment complexes as collateral damage or whatever damage. So this is wrong. Once you invade the geographical exteriors of a state, you should stop crying baby like babies that we were only targeting this. Once you enter, your munition enters the geographical boundaries of a state, you are at war with the state. This is the erstwhile principle of war. So these things fool no one.
Right, and how imminent and how real is the threat of U.S. invasion of Iran? Because just by bombing aerial raids, you cannot dismantle the nuclear facilities, let alone doing anything with the region.
Dr. Saab, just like other players, if the US feels that by providing some more munitions to Israel, it can decapacitate some nuclear centrifuges, it would first do so. So it would be progressive. They would first do that. And if there is no regime change, or if there is no Iran-wide uprising, then it's all open. I still have a feeling that the U.S. would not invade or would not directly participate in a war, but these predictions go to the dogs every moment nowadays, every second actually.
Yes. So where do you see Israel standing if U.S. stays at stays away from the Iranian shores? Because in that case, Israel does not appear to have that kind of capability of winning this war on its own.
Yes, Dr. Saab, it might not conclusively win a war like when you invade and win a war, but if it continues bombing through the air force, it can hurt Iranian interests a lot because they have if Iran can shoot down their planes, then it's good, but beyond visual range, missiles or aerial borne munitions can hit Iran. They can hit Iranian cities, and they might even hit the Ayatollah. So even if the U.S. does not, the U.S. does not have the blueprint of where the grand leader of Iran is. I think it's Israelis. He was speaking Israel's language, that we know where you are, because the U.S. doesn't hasn't done targeted assassinations like this. It's the Israeli playbook. So I think Israel still has the capability if this goes on. And as you were discussing with me, if other players don't enter.
Oh, Mercedes Sabla lost his camera for a while. We'll wait for him to come back. But the situation is, uh, that in the meanwhile, he can join us back. I think we should also pay attention to what other players are saying in the region. We have the Chinese diplomats saying that I can read what he said. Mm, Wang Li, the Chinese foreign minister, is reported by the Foreign Policy magazine of America. He offered support, Wang offered support to his Iranian counterpart in safeguarding Iran's national sovereignty, defending its legitimate rights and interests, and ensuring the safety of its people. Chinese President Xi Jinping echoed these comments in a statement Tuesday. The Chinese response is stronger, more direct in its reaction to the round of conflict between Iran and Israel last fall. So that is the situation. And at the same time, we also have, sorry, we also have the Russian diplomats uh, making statements. The deputy foreign minister of Russia, he warned this evening, saying that Russia tells U.S. not to strike Iran, warns of nuclear catastrophe, that it can spiral out of everybody's hands if this campaign lasts longer. So Russia is telling the United States not to strike because it would radically destabilize the Middle East. So the question remains how long these players can remain bystanders. So thank you very much, Ambassador Saab, for joining me again. These are the lingering questions. How long can these power remain bystanders? Russia and China. While we know that the US is standing firmly behind Israel.
Dr. Saab, it's a $1 million question. Now the Russian statements and the Chinese reports that we are getting, they have become more strident in asking the US. But as we speak, a war is going on. Iran, more than diplomatic uh, help, needs munitions, and more than munitions, it probably needs air support. And I don't think any country will enter this war. That's the problem. That
Hmm.
they would probably there would be munitions given to Iran, if at all, secretly. But I don't think what they need is air def- air defenses and air power, because as you know this and that's where Iran is at the greatest disadvantage. Iran's advantage is that we don't know how many missiles and the class of missiles that they have. uh, generally uh, generally the analysis is that Iran does have a robust missile program, but it remains to be seen, because yes, there is panic in the Israeli street. There is they thought that Iran would just be a pushover because of the disparity in munitions. So that has been proven wrong. Iran has robustly defended itself, but it remains to be seen whether, in the face of air power,
Hmm.
can they keep on, given the fact that Israel seems to have very good human intelligence on the ground, which means that their missile launching sites and other places, we don't know how much Israel knows and how much can they knock over. So it's a very testing time for Iran. Let there be no two bones about it. Yes, I think Russia is very concerned, but Russia is fighting its own war in Ukraine, and China faces the dilemma that can China enter this war theater, just as the US is finding it difficult. China would probably be loath to enter the war theater. It would probably do everything else, but it would be loath to enter the war theater. The relationship between Pakistan and China is not the same as between Iran and China, although they're very close. And the relationship between Russia and Iran is also, although they have a strategic partnership now, but the playbook of the friendship that is higher than the mountains and deeper than the deep seas that Pakistan and China enjoy. And Dr. Saab, add to it the combined training, add to it the foresight that the leaders of Pakistan Air Force, Navy, and Army, especially um, especially the command they had of training for 5 years before uh, India got a bloody nose in Sindoor. So that level, it can't be replicated. So at this time, diplomatically, Iran would have support, but what they need is as they would say, they would need support on the ground.
Yeah, that's the kind of support we are talking about, because Iran did not hesitate in providing drones and missile technology. They even provided production license to Russia
Yes,
for
they
their
did.
campaign,
Yes, they did.
campaign against. So that begs the question: why are the Russians reluctant to return the favor in
I
kind?
think I think President Putin should make a few phone calls. I think it's time to seek President Trump's direct intervention. They should talk to him that any further help to the US would be seen as an anti-Russian and something that would destabilize the world. We are seeing great support in the UN, but I think bilateral diplomacy has to take place. They have to come out openly in support of Iran, and I wish that behind the scenes, the Muslim world should also go to the U.S. presidency and say we have taken this, but beyond this is not good, because this playbook is very dangerous.
Hmm.
Usually, Pakistan's name is taken, but more than Pakistan, this is now a playbook that has destabilized or almost destroyed 6 or 7 countries of the Middle East. So this is not a good playbook. Things change hands very quickly. The world changes, and then these precedents can be diabolical for the Middle East also, and for, of course, for Pakistan. So we should send
One,
all the Muslim world should send signals or talk even behind the scenes to the US that this is enough.
right. One last question. Uh, Not a very pleasant one to even ask because of Iran's oil supply to China. And if it escalates, and if that supply stops or reduces, and if Iran retaliates by obstructing the Strait of Hormuz, if that happens, and if the oil supply is reduced, stopped, obstructed in any way, who benefits from it in the first place? Russians, because the oil prices go up. So maybe they want the oil prices to go up a little so they can benefit from it, and then they provide whatever help they want to provide to the Iranians. Does it seem to
Dr.
be
Saab, it's in the world of hardcore international relations and realist international relations, this is plausible. But I really hope that the Russians do not tread that path because as we speak, Iran is losing lives, and Iran is losing other things. And I'm not saying that Iran can't retaliate. Iran can retaliate, but then that retaliation would be taken as an excuse to further flatten places in Iran. So
hmm,
it would. I think Iran should retaliate, and I think Russia should act quickly. I really implore Russia and China to act quickly. Russia
because
is the main.
yes, because if Iran's oil export capability is hurt, China is directly involved in that business. So that will willy-nilly pull China into the whole affair directly. They can't afford to let it happen. So
Right.
So either the Americans will have to stop two steps behind, and by stopping two steps behind, they cannot achieve the full objectives. So what are they fighting for? It all turns out to be much ado about nothing in the end.
But then the biggest cake on the face would be on Israel's face. The cake would be the US will still escape, of course, some creamy drops, but the US would escape it because it was not directly involved. And I think the US, to maintain its position as a world power, and when you are a world power, you should seem to be just. I think the US should step back and let Israelis get the cake. I'm sure President Trump is, in any case, not very happy with what's been happening in Gaza. He just needs to have the gumption of doing what he has done before. Take a stand.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Imran Isa, for your time today. Very kind of you. I know you had
Always, always a pleasure, Doctor. Always a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you so much for watching. Khuda Hafiz in Pakistan Zindabad.
Thank you, Doctor.